If you're just joining us, we have now confirmed that the AX-4 crew on their return home is roughly 2.5 minutes out from splashdown, and our main chutes have deployed.
Main chute descent rate nominal.
Copy. Main chute descent rate nominal, 1,000 meters for Dragon.
We copy 1,000 meters.
Great visual confirmation as well as those comms that the 4 main parachutes have deployed. Again, we are going to be slowing down the vehicle from 350 miles per hour all the way down to just about 15, 16 miles per hour by the time that the vehicle touches down and splashes down into the ocean.
Exactly right. You mentioned these beautiful visual confirmations that we're getting. An important aspect of today's specific splashdown is that it's occurring at night.
SpaceX Dragon 800.
Copy, 800 meters.
Commander Peggy Whitson confirming the spacecraft's altitude as it's making its descent into the Pacific Ocean just off the coast of San Diego in Southern California.
Yes, love that it's coming off the coast of my hometown.
600 meters.
600 meters.
And at 600 meters, we're just under a minute before that expected splashdown. The landing in water is a lot simpler and more reliable. Provides a little bit of margin against unlikely parachute issues. We did have to learn how to make Dragon waterproof as we are splashing down into the ocean. But
SpaceX copies 400 meters. Reminder to brace for splashdown.
Oh, that's a pretty cool view.
Yeah. That's right. Maintaining the vehicle's signature through things like cloud lighter and any kind of atmospheric disturbance allows us to maintain visual contact with the vehicle as it's making its final descent for its water landing.
And it's a little foggy, as you can see there.
Yeah, Pacific fog is rolling in.
We've got some very bright lights as Dragon, you can see the ocean there. Dragon is about to touch down in just a few seconds here.
And working their way towards the vehicle are the SpaceX and Axiom support teams that will be present for the next phase of our splashdown coverage today. At this point, we'll be waiting for confirmation of the crew's safe landing, and then we'll move into the phases of this mission, which are really, let's recover the vehicle, let's recover the crew, let's make our assessments, and at that point, we'll be covering.
And we have splashdown of the AX-4 crew back on planet Earth.
Welcome home.
SpaceX Dragon splashdown. We are in Stable 1.
SpaceX copies splashdown and Stable 1. On behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
And thanks for the great ride and the safe trip, and Grace is happy to be back.
Welcome back home, Group Captain Shukla. He's back on planet Earth with a picture-perfect splashdown. Not much to see because it's pitch dark, but you can see the beauty of what really SpaceX, Axiom and NASA has achieved here. There's splashdown happening just as planned. Every second that was planned to the T, that's exactly how it happened. What beautiful images there on the right of your screens. Group Captain Shukla's family, his parents, extremely emotional, understandably so. You can see his mother also in tears. Her son is back home. Her son is safe. Obviously, it's very challenging. It's for the first time, I'm sure, that they've been witnessing these kind of scenes, so unsure of what to expect. But rest assured, all well, the splashdown has occurred. It's going to take about 30 minutes now for us to get our first glimpse of Group Captain Shuk's as he's very fondly called by the Axiom crew. You can see on the left of your screens the boats headed right now, speedboats with the crew on board to help with the removal of the astronauts from the Dragon capsule. All of them on board those boats headed right now towards the capsule. On the right, we're getting you those live images from Lucknow. Very, very emotional, parents, and I can say this with certainty, a very emotional nation right now watching these images as the splashdown has occurred. Suesha, what a beautiful moment we've just witnessed. Second Indian ever in space. He's back home safe, and we can't wait to hear about his experience.
Oh yes, absolutely, Akshita. And we must also talk about how this mission has been successful. So 14 days is what these astronauts were to spend at the ISS. It extended to 18 days, 60 experiments. That was the initial aim, but much beyond that, that they have achieved as a part of this mission and successfully come down to take all of this further into future missions.
Very true. This is going to hugely help India's space journey as well. So for anyone who's critical, saying why spend so much money, why spend 500 crores to book a seat on board the space mission, I think the pictures speak for themselves of what really India has also achieved by being a part of this kind of a space mission. That image there on the left of your screens, I know it's pitch dark, which is why we didn't see really the beauty of that capsule touching down on the ocean, splashing down, but the green light that you see constantly blinking, that was the capsule. Right above it, you see a glimpse of the parachute. There were 4 of them, including the drogue, which is essentially the main parachute, and it landed just perfectly the exact spot there where, in fact, the splashdown happens. That too is perfectly planned. That's Shukla's parents there. At this point, I can understand why they're extremely emotional, not willing to really speak or interact with the media. They want to soak in this moment, see this moment. Let's play out for you the reaction there. Understandably so. This is such a proud moment for the family, and at the same time a moment of, I'm sure, quite a bit of anxiety. So they'll be heaving a sigh of relief that their son is back home, waiting, I'm sure, to see him. Unfortunately for them too, it's going to be a long wait, because the next 7 days, Group Captain Shukla, along with the rest of the crew, Peggy Whitson, Wazanowski and Tibor Kapu, they're all going to be in a rehabilitation program, kind of getting used to what it's like to be on planet Earth, getting used to gravity. There'll be tests done to check if they are fit and fine. And only after those 7 days, we're hearing, Suesha, that 25th, of course, we're waiting confirmation, but this is what our sources tell us. 25th is when Group Captain Shukla will be headed back to India. So that'll be a huge moment that we'll watch out for. But we're showing you those pictures once again of the splashdown. Just that green light blinking, that was the capsule as it touched down. It's going to take about 30 to 40 minutes before you'll see the hatch of the capsule being opened and the astronauts being brought out. It's a very, very sensitive operation. They have clear protocol process put in place. SpaceX, look, has done this several times. But having said that, they will ensure that the protocol is followed to a T. You can see the boats headed closer and closer to that capsule. They kept far away because of the entire area being cordoned off, closed off for splashdown, just in case things don't go exactly as planned. And you see a leeway of a few meters, the splashdown happening a few meters away from the planned location. That's why the boats are kept away. But what I can show you, I know it's pitch dark, but you see that blinking light there? That's the capsule. The 2 boats that you see moving are headed to the capsule. Beautiful, beautiful image there, which gives you a sense of how far the boats are from the capsule. You can see the capsule in white, which we've seen before as well. Right now, Suesha, it'll be completely burnt out from the outside. The capsule itself can't be reused. You can see in the brief moments that the light is being flashed upon the capsule, that is completely burnt. And that's because upon re-entry, the heat, the blazing heat and the sheer speed, imagine the speed at which they were traveling through and entering Earth's atmosphere is about 500 kilometers per hour. So at that speed, when you're coming through, the friction, the heat is extreme. In the capsule, however, there are steps taken to keep it cool for the crew, including the fact that their suits will immediately start pushing out cool air into their bodies to keep them comfortable through that journey. But, just as the live stream was happening when we were listening to what SpaceX and also Axiom was telling us, it was very interesting to hear how they were talking to us about these astronauts being trained for that exact moment when the parachutes deploy. They lean back further at that point to ensure that, they are in that perfect position. All right, image is also coming in, Swesha, from Lucknow.
Cake cutting, yes, absolutely, Akshita. And what a moment it is for the parents, for everyone who has ever known Shubhanshu Shukla, because it is not just about them, it is about the entire nation celebrating his safe return. How uncertain such missions can be. We've seen what had happened during Sunita Williams when she was on board. And of course, that splashdown moment that I vividly remember because, it was daytime and the pictures were very clear. Hopefully, if, something like that would have happened this time around, we would have been able to see it much better. Having said that, the excitement, the exhilaration that we feel that the astronauts are back, Shubhanshu Shukla is back, he is safe. And the cake cutting ceremony that is underway. His family is celebrating. This is at his school, I believe, where he has studied. And there, they're cutting the cake, celebrating his return.
Yeah, let's dip into Samarth Srivastava. He's live there. He's speaking to Group Captain Shukla's family. Listen in.
होती है ये पहली सीढ़ी थी जो बड़ी सीढ़ी होती कहीं लैंडिंग चल रही थी डर था क्योंकि बहुत डर था बिकॉज जिस तरीके से जो एक्सियम फर्स्ट के पहले जो एस्ट्रोनॉट थे उन्होंने बताया था कि टेम्परेचर जो है 1600 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड तक चला जाता है बट इट इज ट्राइड एंड टेस्टेड बट फिर भी एक रहता है ना आप ऐसी जगह में बैठे हो जहां का टेम्परेचर 1600 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड जा रहा है एंड इट कुड हैपन एनी टाइम आपका 2003 का जो कल्पना चावला वाला हुआ था हालांकि वो दूसरा स्काईलाइनर का जो भी था उनका इट इज 100% गुड रेट
Some final safety checks.
Focus on these images. We'll get to those voices, but let's focus on these images right now. The boats have now reached the capsule. You can see that in the light that's been flashed upon the capsule. What you'll see now is a series of steps, processes to follow anytime these kind of splashdowns occur. So from a distance, you can see them using a rod to kind of latch on to ensure that the rescue boat is latched on to the capsule. Then you will see one of these personnel outside the capsule doing all necessary checks, checking the hatches, seeing if everything's closed perfectly, because that cabin also, it's very controlled temperature. So they want to ensure it's opened perfectly. So expect it to take another 20 minutes at least for all of those checks to be completed. But it looks like you're going to see the other boat also approach closer to the capsule. But like I said, I think what you can also witness there, right now it's pitch dark, but the moment they flash those lights in the Dragon capsule, you get a sense of how challenging that journey really is to return back to planet Earth. I dare say it's more challenging than actually liftoff because of the speed with which you're kind of just dropping down back into Earth's atmosphere. And all of the senses returning, gravity is back, you're strapped in, there's no place to go, there's a comms blackout. So it takes a lot mentally and physically for these astronauts as well. But the capsule is there. It's called the Grace capsule. This capsule is named as Grace. And you can see it floating along there. For the astronauts inside, I'm sure they're extremely impatient. Group Captain Shooks and everyone else extremely impatient to step out. It's going to take a bit of time. They know full well the process involved. They know that all necessary checks have to be done before that latch that you can see there with the light flashing on it, before that is opened.
सबको धन्यवाद है बहुत खुश हैं पूरा परिवार बहुत बड़ा मिशन करके आया करो आप करो ना आप जाओ इधर was the best thing we still have something to watch आप सब लोगों का बहुत धन्यवाद and we are so happy. We have next step right now. Please watch that immediately. It's important one. Very important. He's coming out of the cupola. That cupola. Please watch that.
So the family there trying to watch the live updates because they know that the next few steps are crucial. They want that glimpse of Group Captain Shooks the moment he's out of the capsule. You're not going to be seeing him being pulled out of the capsule right now and taken on a boat. No. What actually happens is once these checks are done, and if I'm not wrong, I can't really see, but part of the process is that there's actually a person who's on top of the capsule, who gets on top, climbs right on top there, and then kind of latches a rope across. Then you will see the Dragon capsule being dragged
just mentioned.
Yeah, I think the personnel are on board right now. They're kind of latching onto the capsule. And so you'll see the capsule being dragged away from the sea by the boat and then brought on board. And then everyone will be allowed to evacuate from the capsule. Right now, they will not be taken out. The latch will not be opened till they're moved from the water. So these boats are only doing the necessary checks right now. You can see one of the personnel with a flashlight right on top. What he or she will be doing. I remember for Sunita Williams, it was a woman, and we were all amazed by those images of her just walking all over that capsule for about 30 minutes. But she'll be very carefully treading on top and going across, surrounding it, putting a lasso of sorts, if you will, around the capsule.
The thrusters that did not fire to make sure that
in fact, Akshata, Nagarjun Dwarkanath has spoken to the ISRO chief. Let's play that interview.
Now we have seen Shubhanshu Shukla landing back in Pacific Ocean, coming back to the Earth. What do you feel? So, what is the message from ISRO, sir?
Message from ISRO is very simple message. See, which is a big program for sending our own brothers or sisters to space and bringing them back safely using our own rockets.
Yes, sir.
Lot of developments are involved. Human-rated vehicle, crew escape system, environmental control and safety system, parachute system, and along with that, human-centric products and human training. Lot of activities are involved. This program will feed for our Gaganyaan program.
Okay.
Basically, it is the vision of our Prime Minister.
Yes.
2023, he only suggested why don't we send one of our Gaganyaan 3s to ISS. So that will gain some confidence, some knowledge.
Yes,
confidence. Sir. So it is in that direction. This will be really helping our program.
So
feeding this data will feed to our Gaganyaan program.
Over 2 weeks, Mr. Shukla was in the space in ISS. What are the data that you're looking at? What is his experience that you're looking at that ISRO can take in for Gaganyaan, sir?
Say one is his knowledge and his interaction with other people. Another one is we have planned some experiment. Experiments are done. Lot of things are done in the ground.
Correct, sir.
And some work he has also done there. Now the seeds, everything will come back. Our people have to continue the experiment. So it is the experiment not only done in the space. It is the total experiment which has to be done. A portion is done in the flights.
Right.
In the space. So everything basically it will feed to our Gaganyaan program. Their training will feed to us.
So
the
this,
2 people are trained,
yeah.
Prashant Nair and he 10 months they were getting training.
So
that
this
will help us.
This
and they have got exposure to the International Space Station. They have worked with.
All right, so that is the ISRO chief sharing his words on not just the safe return of Shubhanshu Shukla, Akshata, but also how ISRO has really been looking forward to all that comes after this, the various experiments, the research, and how that gets carried forward into our future missions. The ambitions are big when it comes to where India wants to be in the elite space club, and the Gaganyaan mission, of course, that all this research will hugely help with. But Akshata, I throw it back at you because please explain to us these particular pictures.
अच्छा लग रहा है, खराब क्या लगने वाली चीज है, तो मिशन पूरा होके बेटा लौटा करके तो अच्छा लग रहा है।
देखा आप हाथ जोड़े थी और कुछ जाप कर रही थी जिस वक्त वो प्रोसीजर चल रहा था।
भगवान से मन ही मन प्रार्थना कर रहे थे कि सुरक्षित लैंडिंग हो जाए, सुरक्षित लैंडिंग हो।
आपके आंखों में आंसू भी थे। एक माँ है क्योंकि आपने पूरा बच्चे को बड़ा किया है, आपके सामने खेले हैं, आपके सामने पढ़ाई की है। अभी भी मैं देख रहा हूँ आप स्क्रीन की तरफ देख रही हैं। आप मुझे ये बताइए कि किस तरीके से ये कितना इमोशनल क्षण है।
नहीं, ये आप लोग भी देखो कितनी स्पेशल चीज है।
बहुत स्पेशल चीज है हम लोग के लिए भी। हम लोग के भी रोंगटे खड़े हो जिस वक्त हम रिपोर्ट कर रहे थे। आप ही बताइए कि कितनी बड़ी प्रेरणा शुभांशु बन गए हैं।
प्रेरणा तो बन ही गए सबके, पूरे संसार के लिए, दुनिया के लिए, भारत के लिए, सबके लिए।
डर था हल्का सा भी?
नहीं, अब कोई डर नहीं है।
जिस वक्त लैंडिंग हो रही थी
सारे डर खत्म हो गए, सब खत्म
हो गया। तो माँ के चेहरे पर आप खुशी देखिए कि किस तरीके की खुशी माँ के चेहरे पर है, और वो अभी अभी झांक कर वो स्क्रीन की तरफ देख रही हैं। वो कोई क्षण मिस नहीं करना चाहती हैं, जैसा कि उन्होंने बताया।
So that's Group Captain Shukla's mother there saying, why don't you all watch the screen? Stop talking to me. I can understand her emotions. She wants to watch that moment her son comes out of the capsule. This is what I was referring to earlier, that you'll have a personnel, someone who's also a diver, by the way, getting on board the Dragon capsule. You can see essentially that all the necessary harnesses are being attached to the capsule, and then the speedboat will move with the capsule. It'll be then docked onto a platform on a boat, and that's when the crew will be coming out. So it could take another 20 plus minutes at least. It depends on really how long this entire process now goes on for. It's about 2:30 in the morning there, Suesha. So while we're all hoping that, daybreak happens and we'll be able to see that moment of Group Captain Shukla emerging, it's going to be dark throughout, unfortunately. But so we'll have to make do with these images that we're seeing, because it just about gives you a glimpse of what it takes to ensure a successful splashdown and what happens post the splashdown as well, which is also extremely intricate ops. As you can see there in the water, there are personnel on board this burnt-looking capsule because of the process of re-entry itself being so complicated. And so you've got personnel there on board kind of latching on all of the harnesses. Then the capsule will be dragged. You see the crew inside will still be strapped in. They'll be dragged right onto another boat, and that's when the latch will finally be opened. Not before that. And then, like I said, Suesha, you're going to see, there's no triumphant moment of the astronauts walking out, waving, none of that. They're going to be literally carried out of the capsule, put onto a stretcher, and then pulled out. So that will be the moment to watch out for in another 20 minutes from now. I saw the Group Captain Shukla's parents also. I'm sure they've fully rehearsed with the exact protocol that will be followed with the process. So they'll be waiting for that moment. That big ship, sort of ship that you see there, for lack of a better word, but one with the spotlight, that's where the capsule will be dragged on. And right at the back there with all of the personnel, the capsule will be kept there before it's actually opened up, Suesha. So that's the boat there waiting to welcome the capsule in. That spot, you see a slightly elevated portion there. That's where the capsule will be placed. It's harnessed in, so they're essentially just dragging it onto the boat now.
Oh yes, absolutely. And that's the thing about missions like these. No matter how rehearsed are you, you never know about the uncertainties that lie ahead of you. And this is the very reason why that anxiety is there. The family is certainly feeling it, and it is a huge moment for reasons so obvious that the mother and his family out of words as they want to see a glimpse of their son. To see that he's safe, he's sound, he's back after these 18 days. And of course, he is the hero of the nation. But
there's just also a message that's coming from Prime Minister Modi. He's put out a post on social media echoing the sentiment of every single Indian right now. I'll just read it out quickly for our viewers. The Prime Minister saying, and I quote, "I join the nation in welcoming Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla as he returns to Earth from his historic mission to space. As India's first astronaut to have visited the International Space Station, he's inspired a billion dreams through his dedication, courage, and pioneering spirit. It marks another milestone towards our own human spaceflight mission, Gaganyaan." And so, like I said, the Prime Minister summing it up perfectly of what every Indian is going through right now, saying that Group Captain Shukla has inspired a billion dreams through his dedication, courage, and pioneering spirit. And very importantly, Prime Minister Modi also saying that this takes us closer towards our own mission, towards mission Gaganyaan. Remember, Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla is a Gaganyatri himself. He was chosen for that mission, and then to ensure that we have that knowledge and we have an astronaut on board who's already been to space, he is sent for this particular mission. And the knowledge that he is bringing on board now, invaluable. The experiments that he's conducted for ISRO, invaluable. And that's what Prime Minister Modi is also referring to with this welcome back home message. We can't wait for him to come back to India. That'll be a moment really for all of us to witness. We can't wait for him to tell us about his experience in space as well.
Oh yes, and the messages that he's put out while he was in space of how he sees India, even this time around when he described the experience as magical. Shubhanshu Shukla said that India is ambitious, India is fearless, India is raring to go, and there's nothing that we can't achieve. So, Akshita, while we stand at this stage, there is so much more that awaits us in terms of the space missions that we are attempting to conquer. And of course, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has always put forth the government's vision when it comes to the support that is extended to ISRO and our astronauts to be able to take such experiments forward. In fact, Akshita, even if you and I recall that interaction that had happened between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Shubhanshu Shukla while he was in space, and of course, he wished him all the very best, he shared a few tips, but also those lighter moments of when he mentioned that Shubhanshu Shukla had taken Gajar ka halwa to the ISS, and the big party also that they had, those pictures that we'd put out. So, like I said, Akshita, this is a big moment. We're all witnessing it, and so much more that we're waiting to observe to what is going to happen when it comes to India's big leap in science and space.
That's true. I remember one of the viral images is what you're talking about, Swesha, when Gajar halwa was actually served to all of the astronauts on board. So I can't wait to hear whether they loved it as much as Group Captain Shukla does, because his family told us it's one of his favorite dishes. So rather fitting that he took that essentially to represent what Indian food and Indian cuisine is all about. But just to focus again on the images that we're getting right now, part of the recovery fleet, this is the main SpaceX recovery ship that's usually used in these kind of missions. The crew that you see on board, they've got a whole lot of experience in doing exactly this, in recovering these capsules. You can see one of the personnel on board the capsule also to ensure that nothing goes wrong, to ensure that the harness stays on, even as the capsule is getting closer and closer to the recovery ship right now. It will be placed right in that circular area that you see. So, you get a sense also of the size of the capsule. I remember when I was in Florida, this launch was happening from launch pad 39A. Obviously, at the Kennedy Space Center, there are multiple such launch pads. I wasn't allowed anywhere close to this launch pad. That's protocol, so we weren't allowed close by. But you just see the sheer size of the rocket, because when you go into the Kennedy Space Center, they actually let you visit other launch pads. So it gives you a sense of the sheer scale of the kind of mission, the equipment that we're talking about. But you look at the capsule itself, where you see the massive rocket standing up, it looks like a massive mammoth piece of equipment. But the capsule itself in which the astronauts are, it's tiny, it's cramped. There's no place at all for 4 astronauts to move. There are seats placed, they're strapped in, they can just about, unstrap themselves, move around a little, float around, if you will, because they're not going to be walking around in there, and then strap themselves back in. So you can see right now, they'll be strapped in, by the way, even through this process, because the capsule is floating because of the built-in buoyancy. SpaceX usually ensures that most of their launches, it's a splashdown that occurs. So because of that, their capsules usually are built to float in water, completely waterproof also. So it's being dragged in right now. The astronauts at this point will just be seated, waiting for the go-ahead, waiting for that latch to open. They have nothing essentially to do at this point. They're strapped in completely. But if you look at the whole process, actually it's largely automated. Even at that moment of a comms blackout, which you'd think would create a whole lot of panic inside the capsule, not really, because not just is there a clear protocol established, but also secondly, they just have to sit back, strapped in. There isn't much for them to do. Everything's controlled from base, from Houston. Now, your recovery is on. You can see that the ropes that the personnel were on board tying, latching onto the capsule, that's being used to kind of drag them back in. Using, of course, a pulley, they're being dragged back in. And then the capsule extremely heavy, so there's no question of any of those people being able to lift it. It'll directly be automatically pushed onto the platform. And then the personnel who are standing there will start those last checks. All right, this is why I said that the personnel who are on board the capsule are divers, because when they get close, they just jump off into the ocean and get back into those rescue boats. Amazing to see, really, the kind of training that these personnel go through and what it takes for ensuring that this kind of a mission is successful. So many bits and pieces that bring it together and ensure a successful mission, Suesha. But I think we're just inches away from the capsule now, making it onto the recovery ship.
Oh yes, absolutely, Akshita. And while the weather has been conducive, but one can only imagine the very many challenges on the ground as they recover that capsule and continue to pull it towards themselves, because as lit as it is, but the fact is that it is dark. It is 2:30 in the morning that they are performing this entire recovery, and it of course has its own share of challenges. We saw one of them, yes, a diver who just jumped into the water, and in the middle of Pacific Ocean, where the capsule is now being pulled and it is being taken in.
Okay, so
what
you're
happens
seeing,
next?
You're seeing the capsule being lifted off the water onto the recovery ship. Few more checks and then the latch will be open. But the breaking news that we can confirm for you, and I know you've all been wondering when Group Captain Shukla will be back in India. The confirmation that's coming in right now is that he'll be back in Delhi on August 17th. Contrary to what sources told us earlier, which was that it could be as early as July 25th. But now we're hearing that August 17th is the date that Group Captain Shukla will be back in Delhi. He's going to be meeting with ISRO officials. That crucial debriefing perhaps will be happening then, Suesha.
Oh yes, absolutely. Shubhanshu Shukla, and in this big mission that happens to be a big boost for India's Gaganyaan, and 17th August is when he will be in Delhi.
That's right. So once he comes down to Delhi, you're going to be seeing Group Captain Shukla meeting with ISRO officials, get going on mission Gaganyaan. Let's focus on those images once again. That's coming in right now. Okay, let's cut across to Union Minister Jitendra Singh.
स्थिति पे तो आ ही गया था चंद्रयान के बाद, लेकिन आज हम उस स्थिति में हैं कि हम वो भी चुनौती स्वीकार करने की स्थिति में है, ऐसे प्रयोग करने जो आज तक ना हुए। और ये याद रहे कि जो प्रयोग शुभांशु के द्वारा किए गए वो मानव जीवन के साथ बड़ा नजदीक का संबंध रखते हैं, और उनसे जो परिणाम निकलेंगे वो न केवल भारतवासियों के लिए बल्कि समस्त विश्व के लिए उपयोग में लाए जाएंगे। जैसे प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी कहते हैं कि भारत को अब विश्व बंधु की भूमिका के लिए अपने आप को तैयार करना होगा, सही माने में विश्व बंधु के किरदार में ये प्रयोग किए गए।
गगनयान के लिए कितना उपयोगी होगा सर ये? गगनयान मिशन के लिए कितना उपयोगी?
टेक्निकली जो डॉकिंग अनडॉकिंग और दूसरे प्रयोग हैं वो गगनयान में भी काम आएंगे, चंद्रयान 4 में भी आएंगे, और फिर जब हमारा भारतीय अंतरिक्ष स्टेशन बनेगा लगभग 2035 में, तो मुझे लगता है कि ये जो आज प्रक्रियाएं हुई हैं ये इससे उम्दा ढंग से हम करने में
शुभांशु भारत आ सकते हैं।
लगभग 17 अगस्त के लगभग उनका दिल्ली पहुंचने की उम्मीद की जा सकती है।
डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह जिन्होंने बताया कि किस तरह की प्रक्रिया जो है वो अब फॉलो की जाएगी।
All right, so Union Minister Jitendra Singh confirming that Shubhanshu Shukla will be in Delhi on the 17th of August, and of course a big ceremony I'm sure will be planned around it, but most importantly he will also meet with ISRO officials. So all of that is to happen in Delhi on the 17th of August, Akshita, like we understand, and again we've cut across to those pictures. What happens next?
They are de-rigging the spacecraft, but they're also doing some final...
What's happening right now is all the harnesses are being removed simultaneously by all of the personnel there. The Dragon capsule is at the location that it's meant to be. You see that particular area there right in front of the personnel. That is the latch. So that will be opened once the go-ahead is given. A few more moments before we actually see that moment. The other aspect of it is that you will see a whole lot of crew members on standby. So even once the latch is opened, they're not immediately going to come out. It will take a few more moments for them actually to be brought out one after another. 4 of them inside. We're talking about Group Captain Shukla, who's of course the pilot, mission commander Peggy Whitson, who is from America, Wyszynowski from Poland, and Tibor Karpov from Hungary. They'll all be pulled out one after another. But like I said, even in this case, the astronauts know that they're not allowed to remove the seat belts that they have on. They're strapped on completely to their seats, and they're not allowed to remove that even after the door is open. Only when they're given the go-ahead can they actually remove those straps, and then immediately personnel go into that capsule. You will see essentially trained personnel inside taking them out one after another. So right now all processes being done to open that latch. It's very, very difficult because you see it's sealed essentially, and that's because at re-entry and like I've been highlighting, the temperatures that it reaches up to, the heat and the friction is what you see the impact outside. There are heat shields, of course, around the SpaceX Dragon capsule, but you can see the impact really of the re-entry on the capsule. It's completely burnt out, which is what makes these capsules unreusable. SpaceX believes in maximum reuse of most of its equipment, but a capsule at this point is not reusable just because of the kind of damage that's inflicted upon it once it re-enters into the Earth's atmosphere. That's the most challenging bit, essentially, of the return journey. Now, at this point, while it's for the astronauts just sitting back and waiting, for the ground crew, this is the hardest part, to ensure that all harnesses are removed, to ensure that the opening is done perfectly, picture perfect as the return, as the splashdown has been so far.
Been lifted onto the recovery vessel Shannon. Now the recovery crew is safing the vehicle. They're putting some covers on the thrusters of the vehicle just to ensure, now that the spacecraft is no longer in operation, we don't need those thrusters. They did some sniff checks before they put some covers on it.
SpaceX, comm check.
We have you loud and clear in Dragon.
Copy that, Dragon. We have you the same. Welcome aboard the recovery ship. We are working to troubleshoot the forward link transition. Stand by for translation across the deck. I'll let you know when we're ready for that.
Okay, copy.
The crew is preparing for translation. This is where that Dragon nest is going to move the spacecraft towards the deck, and that deck is going to meet the bottom of the Dragon hatch, and that'll enable the crew to egress or exit the Dragon spacecraft onto a platform on the recovery vessel. And again, the recovery crew looks like they may have finished safing the vehicle in preparation for that translation.
As you mentioned, Jesse, that hatch that you see right in the center of the spacecraft, when we see crew egress from that, SpaceX medical personnel will be there to assess crew and assist them along with other ground support crew out of the spacecraft. And at that point, that'll be our first time being able to see the AX-4 crew since their liftoff to the International Space Station on June 25th. On a side note, I do love seeing crew go into and come out of the hatch, whether it's the side hatch or whether it is the docking port. I love seeing the smiles on their faces.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting for them once we open this Dragon side hatch. Again, it'll be the first breath of fresh air in about 20 days for them since they boarded the Falcon 9 on launch day.
And it is an interesting distinction. You launch in the Atlantic and you splash down the Pacific. It's very different breaths of air that you're getting.
And you traveled all over space for thousands of miles.
288 orbits, something like 7.6 million miles, all just to come down across the country.
Millions of miles, I should say. It's definitely a great passport to have.
It is. Maybe that could be the next memento that we can provide crew before they lift off as a passport that they can see.
I think the locations would be orbits.
That'd be really cool.
Outside of Earth.
Yeah.
Earth orbits, low Earth orbit. Again, next up, we are expecting the translation of the Dragon spacecraft named Grace, named by the Axiom Mission 4 crew. Again, the spacecraft will translate in preparation for hatch opening and exiting of the vehicle.
A few moments ago, Core spoke with the AX-4 crew to let them know that the translation will be happening soon.
Dragon, SpaceX, final checks are complete. Translation across the deck to the egress platform will begin shortly. There is a chance that we get a lot of alarms. No concern.
Dragon copies.
And we have movement. Translation is beginning. Some residual ocean water flashing down, and then we are washing down the hatch area. Again, just preparing for the vehicle's side hatch to be opened. Getting some of that salt water off, maybe some of that plasma from reentry off.
Right. Right, all nominal processes to ensure that that crew can safely egress the vehicle, but also that ground personnel are safely protected while handling the spacecraft and crew as well. So at this point, we can see SpaceX personnel positioning themselves to support in this, as well as the spacecraft making final approaches to that upper landing pad for crew to egress the vehicle. After that freshwater washdown of the hatch area, we're seeing some final wipe downs as well. For those with a keen eye as well, you could see on the side of Grace, as it was making its approach towards the upper landing, the Axiom logo proudly displayed on the spacecraft. We had some great shots during the docking footage of SpaceX, Axiom, making a beautiful image of the vehicle docked to the International Space Station. It's a little worn.
A little toasty.
A little toasty.
A little toasty.
All part of nominal ops, though.
3,500 degrees Fahrenheit will do that.
Dragon, SpaceX, stand by for side hatch opening and egress of some smiling faces.
Here we go.
All right, we're looking forward to it.
They are just about to open that side hatch, and again, first person that'll greet the crew will be the medical officer.
The hatch is open, and ground crews are making first contact with the Axiom 4 crew.
And you see that square-looking tool. That's just a protector for the hatch seal for while the crew egresses. This is a reusable vehicle, so we are protecting both the crew as well as the spacecraft, making sure there's no damage that happens and that the crew doesn't bump their head on anything on the spacecraft.
Now, any moment now, by the way, you're going to be seeing Group Captain Shukla emerging from that capsule. We're not sure of the order in which the astronauts will be emerging. I'm guessing it's based on seating, who's the closest to really the capsule, but there's protocol to that too. The only person who's gone in, the photographer getting a chance to get in and take one last photograph of the astronauts inside the capsule, but the only person who was allowed inside was a medical officer so far. A couple of photographers being allowed to get one last glimpse of the AX4 crew in the Dragon capsule, and I'm sure they'll want to remember that moment too. That's a medical officer there. A couple of them entering, but you will see one after another now the astronauts emerging outside. And we can't wait to catch a glimpse of Group Captain Shukla. It's been a tough journey. It's been a hard journey. I'm sure 22 hours to come back home, to return to planet Earth. I'm sure they're relieved, but also excited to be back. It's going to be, again, a rehabilitation of about 7 days. So that will be another crucial point in the recovery itself. So it doesn't end here. They're emerging out, and then they'll be taken directly to the rehabilitation program. But you can see all of the personnel now on standby, waiting for the astronauts and getting set to ensure that they are brought out from that capsule safely. A hatch, which is opened, yes, but they've also put a cover around the hatch to ensure that there's no scope for any injuries. But it looks like some parts being removed from the capsule just before the astronauts make their way out. Ready, so we can assure you that we will be able to get you all those live updates and live videos from the moment that all of the astronauts step out, which is reassuring for us to see so far away that the cameras are right to the location there to get you every one of those updates, and so we can watch what's happening as the astronauts come out. We're just moments away from that.
Get out of their seats while they are exiting the vehicle.
Now getting some great internal views of the AX4 crew in their spacecraft.
I already saw some big smiles as people, we've all been saying.
Ladies and gentlemen, Group Captain Shukla, all smiles, Suesha. Great to see. So it looks like he's enjoyed that journey back. I don't know how, but he seems to have enjoyed it. He's all smiles, which means he's doing okay. Good to see. First view there of all of them seated, still strapped on, mind you, because they'll be waiting for the go-ahead for each of them, one after another, to be pulled out. But it also gives you a sense. The first thing that it struck me from that view was look how small and cramped it is. There's no space for anyone to move.
Putting in aspects of I'm not going to call it rigging, but hardware to help the crew get out of the spacecraft more easily. Reminder that they've been in microgravity for a little over 20 days, and occasionally your first few steps back on Earth can be
they're coming out.
Slightly challenging.
It's a little different in microgravity than dealing with the gravity here on Earth. Just now joining us, we are waiting for the AX4 crew to exit the Dragon spacecraft Grace. Peggy, Shooks, Suave, and Tibor are at the end of their Axiom Mission 4. After 20 days in space, 18 on board the International Space Station. 18 days.
And now this wraps up a very significant portion of the mission, but it's not entirely over. We still have a few medical checks to go. And then in addition to that, the AX4, all the research done on the AX4 mission is all going to be in a world of post-processing, analysis, assessment, and that's all part of it, as well as crew debriefs. So, following after crew egresses the spacecraft and gets good medical checks, at that point we'll be getting the crew back home and then continuing the final, we'll call it terrestrial-based operations of the
That's
X4
right.
mission.
I guess it's more of the end of the space-facing portion of the mission.
Operational phases. Right. We're still going to take our time to get there. You can see ground crews are still working with the crew members and hardware inside. They've established some ground support equipment to help in the aid of the AX4 crew getting out of the spacecraft.
And some of their aids are not too complex. That white platform that you see there is essentially a slide.
Yeah. But an important one.
A very important slide.
But in addition to that slide, we do have, there's a complex tool that you mentioned earlier, Jesse, about protecting the seals. We can see now crew looking to make, the first crew members looking to make their egress from spacecraft along that slide.
Sliding out.
And there she is. We see Commander Peggy Whitson, all smiles, exiting the spacecraft Grace. That is a beautiful sight. Peggy Whitson, the AX4 commander, is home, having logged 695 days in space on 5 flights. She is the 7th on the all-time list for most days in space by a human. It's an incredible feat.
Legendary.
Okay, Peggy Whitson, the mission commander, is out, all smiles. Great to see that they're on their feet, of course, with a little bit of assistance, but they're sliding out of the capsule and then being assisted by personnel on ground, all smiles and walking out, which means it's not just been a picture-perfect splashdown from the outside for us, but in the inside too, which is why they're all looking comfortable. They're looking at ease. About 16 days in space. That's a long time of not having any gravity, which is why it's complicated for them to also come out. But you can see the photographer there right in front. In all likelihood, it's going to be Group Captain Shukla next, considering the mission commander is out. If you look at the seating inside the Dragon capsule, the middle 2 seats, it's Peggy Whitson and then Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla. To the 2 extremes are the mission specialists, Wizanowski and Tibor Kapo. So my sense is that if Peggy Whitson has emerged, you're going to be seeing Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla next. A fleeting view. You saw with Peggy Whitson, it was just a quick smile, a thumbs up, and then she was moved away from that location. It's going to be similar with Group Captain Shukla as well. Just a moment's glimpse as he emerges from that capsule, and then he'll be carried out.
We are waiting for the remaining 3 crew members of the AX4 crew. There's no real order to the egress. It's really up to the crew. So we're patiently waiting to see who's up next.
Right. If Peggy is in the indication, which I think she is for this particular crew, we'll see another big smile coming out of the Dragon spacecraft in a moment.
Down the slide again, similar process of coming down the slide, and then will be assisted by the personnel on ground to get up on his feet. Now, safe to say he, because Peggy Whitson has already, there you have it. Group Captain Shukla,
pilot,
all smiles, waving
Shukla,
at the people. A little help there for him as he walks out,
spacecraft,
getting used to gravity. Amazing to see that. Amazing to see him smiling, waving at the cameras. Good to know. I think all of us were a little anxious if he's doing okay. Amazing to see. And look at his parents there. Gives you goosebumps to see them applauding. That's the first time they're seeing him back on Earth. So they'll be relieved to see that moment of him smiling beautiful. His mother's actually waving at the screens, hoping, I'm sure, that her son can see how proud she is. But he's come out, he's waving, he's doing good, which is great to see. He's now being taken to a point where there will be medical checks that are conducted. Group Captain Shukla with the tricolour, mind you. Not sure if you noticed, we'll play that footage for you again of him coming out, tricolour on his sleeve, which is amazing to see because it again reiterates for us what a moment this is. Let's cut across live.
हाँ, सावन का महीना है, भोलेनाथ जी की कृपा है।
Group Captain Shukla is out of the Dragon capsule. Next, you're going to see Wazanowski as well as Tibor Kapo coming out. Listen in.
अब मंत्री से बात कर लेता है थोड़ा हल्का लगता है
सर, यही पल तो था जिसके लिए जी रहे थे।
नहीं, बिल्कुल उसका मिशन पूरा हुआ। ईश्वर को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद और सभी देशवासियों का आभार प्रकट करते हैं।
साक्षात रूप से मिलने के लिए शुभांशु से।
नहीं, बिल्कुल बहुत अच्छा लग रहा, बहुत
मिलना कब होगा?
अब मिलना 15 दिन लग जाएंगे।
तो काफी उनका इंतजार है, किस तरीके से स्वागत की तैयारी है?
नहीं, बहुत भव्य स्वागत करेंगे हम लोग, जो है बिल्कुल एंजॉय करेंगे, पार्टी करेंगे, पूरा बैंड बाजे के साथ स्वागत करेंगे, जो कुछ होगा बहुत अच्छे तरह स्वागत करेंगे।
जी, शुभांशु की सकुशल वापसी हो गई, क्या कहेंगे?
हम लोग के लिए बहुत गर्व का पल है।
We have our third crew member now egressing the vehicle. Bob is all smiles for this, which I love to see.
It's also out, Akshita, and
Now,
all
Poland's
smiles. It is
participation in
wonderful
the
to see
AX4
all of them
mission through the
happy,
Ignis program marked a pivotal step in
safe,
the country's
and
growing role in
the
space
fact that they're
exploration.
standing back on their
Astronaut
feet, one can
Sławomir
only imagine how
Wisniewski
difficult it is.
flying in
And
partnership with the
most
European
importantly, they're
Space
seeing
Agency,
faces
led a
outside
research
of
agenda
themselves,
focused
outside
on
of
some
what
of the
they've
most
seen
pressing
for the
challenges
past
in human
18
spaceflight.
days. They
Mental
see
health,
different
artificial
faces,
intelligence,
and that
radiation
sense of achievement, that sense of
areas are critical
achievement
not
not
only for
just
ensuring astronaut
of
well-being on
concluding a
long-duration
successful
missions,
mission,
but also
but
for enabling
returning
safe and
back home
sustainable
safe.
exploration beyond
Of course,
Earth.
they know they have to go through
The
that
Ignis mission reflects Poland's
rehabilitation
strategic
program, which
investment
is
in
extremely
cutting-edge
crucial
science
for
and
the
its
change
ambition
that
to
their
contribute
bodies
meaningfully to the
go
future
through
of deep space travel.
of what it
It
was
also
like
signals
being in
a
space
broader shift in
and now
Europe's
back on
space
Earth
landscape,
to be in
where
gravity.
emerging space
So
nations are
it,
taking on increasingly
of
vital
course,
roles
can be
in
hugely
shaping the next era of
disorienting,
exploration.
but these are trained astronauts. They know every bit of it. You know, Akshita, no matter how much of it you know it, it's only when it happens to you is when the realization of, you know, it really dawns upon. And so the third astronaut is out. Shubhanshu Shukla came out, all smiles.
Yep.
And this is how we are. Indians are expressive, but so is the case with all the astronauts.
True.
So far, 3 astronauts who have exited off the Dragon capsule, and of course the 4th one who will be brought out.
That's right. On the left of your screens is that moment, in case you missed it,
Dragon
of
spacecraft.
when Group Captain Shukla emerged from the Dragon capsule, sliding out as every astronaut was, and right after that, being helped up onto his feet, very gingerly walking, because it's essentially like, you know, a baby learning to walk again. That's how these astronauts will feel, getting used to gravity again. But it's good to see that they're on their feet. They spent just about 16 days in space, and that's why it's taking a bit of time for them to take those steps for Group Captain Shukla too. But mentally, seeming to be very confident, very sure of what's happening, which is good to see. A thumbs up, a wave at the cameras there. I'm sure that's a wave that he's doing okay to everyone back home. A message that all is well, and I'm sure that's what his parents were watching out for. On the right of your screens, the live images right now of the last astronaut who's come out, Tibor Kapo of Hungary, being the last one of the lot. Looks to be doing the best also, considering he's not just showing a thumbs up, but actually going ahead with a photo op with the crew there. But Tibor Kapo is the last astronaut to be pulled out.
Space exploration.
And that's the end of
mission
that.
signifies
We've got
the
all the
country's
astronauts
return
who've
to
been
human
pulled out
spaceflight
now
after decades
with that.
and highlights
The Dragon
its
capsule
strategic
that they
and
referred to as home
investment
for
in
the last
science,
22
technology,
hours
and
comes to an
innovation.
end. They're back home, back on planet Earth. Group
Jesse, it
Captain
was
Shukla, and we'll go
wonderful
full
seeing
again to those
smiles and
images
waves
of
and
Group
high
Captain
fives.
Shukla on the left of your screens, the exact moment. This is from just about 5 minutes ago when you had Group Captain Shukla emerging from the Dragon capsule. Let's go full now on Group Captain Shukla with all of the astronauts having emerged out of the capsule. Let's just focus on that picture of Shukla as he came out of the capsule. All smiles, waving at the cameras. I'm sure to send across a message back home, Suisha, that he's doing just fine.
Oh yes, absolutely. And what a moment it is, Akshita, for from and you were there. You were there in America. You were covering this moment. There was a delay initially. In fact, you and I were talking, and I asked you many a times that how much could this delay extend to? But fact is that safety and taking every precaution is priority, and that is exactly what the crew was working on. Then after the delay, we saw that it finally took off, and of course that big moment when we realized how big a mission it is, of what it is set to achieve, and these 14 days of how crucial it is for the Axiom 4 crew to be in space, to perform all those 60 experiments and much more, because this is a mission that eventually extended to 18 days. After 18 days, they've come back 22 hours that they have been in that cramped space inside this Dragon capsule. It's not easy for any of us to anyway pull through a flight that long and to be in those spacesuits, to sit through those 22 hours and now come out smiling. I can imagine it is a whirlpool of emotions, seeing so many faces after your back from this mission, knowing that you have achieved what you were set out to achieve. And now, of course, while very many targets lie ahead of them, and most importantly for Shubhanshu Shukla, who will be in Delhi on the 17th of August, is when he will also be meeting all the ISRO officials, planning for the next mission start. But here it is, a big thumbs up to all of them for having performed this mission successfully.